I mean, you probably fix it then, if that's the case. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. Like, now we have more to talk about, is what I'll tell you. All right, welcome, guys. I am M. Canning with my host, Tempo. We're jumping in 5 and a half minutes in, because let me tell you guys, the first 5.5 minutes, just nothing happened. Basically, Phoenixes were made, oracles were made.
No. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah. Thank you for that, by the way, because like we would.
Perfect.
All right, we should be good now. Sorry about that.
Basically, look, I'll just recap for them.
Yeah, recap.
Well, we'll let the game happen, then we'll talk about the players more next game. We have the Phoenixes coming in, finding some Overlords. Silky getting his double spores. Phoenix is lifting. Couple drones going down. No Phoenix going down. Nice little harass from Creature.
Yep.
I like this spot.
Drones.
I like this spot.
I would say 4 drones. You got the third base up. He's good.
Yep. The Overlord as well. Now, it's interesting, Hydralisk, as you're pointing out, it's interesting to see how players handle this. Now, a third Stargate coming in from Creature. He's going pure Sky Toss. I love this from Creature. And I actually really like this spot from because, Queen's going to find almost Phoenix.
Wow, look at that.
As a Zerg player, what are we looking at?
The Phoenix that has 1 HP.
That's like, anytime you're facing any air unit, 1 HP always lives.
Yep.
I think the really interesting thing is, what will Silky do? Now, we see Hydras. You could go Corruptors. His decision here is Hydralisk to handle this big Phoenix cloud. Creature looking for some more damage of these Phoenixes. I mean, it's really kind of on the Zerg. You could go, we'll see how Silky handles this.
So what? Yeah, I was gonna say you're more like a Robo guy, right? For the most part, I would say.
I can mix it up, Tempo. I can mix it up. Don't pin me on one build.
I ain't gonna do that.
A little bit more Robo. Okay, yeah, sure.
But comfort zone usually tends to come from the Robo department, I would say.
Yeah, I'm not a Mass Phoenix guy as much, but I've seen enough Roddy stream to know how this goes.
Yeah.
All right. He's looking for some Phoenixes. Hydra's here. He is lifting up, getting a few. I don't know how many Phoenixes he lost. Maybe 1 or 2. I mean, I don't love the trade because with Phoenixes you can kind of snowball, and if the Phoenix count's high enough, you can kind of just lift up all the Phoenix. We are seeing drones coming out. I wouldn't mind seeing more drones coming out from Silky now up to 82. He was kind of at 75 for a while now. Creature diving back in, finding a lot of Hydras. He's going to clean up all of this right now. This is really, really good for Creature right now.
This is very good, especially because you were talking about like the droning, right? Because usually as a Zerg player, whenever the Protoss opens up Stargate, you kind of just drone up and just deal with it, right? And say, okay, I'm going to lose a lot of drones, so I'm going to drone up to kind of compensate for the fact that I'm going to lose a lot. But it sucks when you lose a lot of your Hydras, though. Your anti-air. Queens
really
are
nice.
better. Yeah.
Because especially when you're going for a pure Hydra composition, when the carrier count gets high enough, the Hydras aren't going to be that effective.
No.
They're just not going to be that effective. So now, a nice scout from Silky. He sees that it's no more Phoenix. It's going to be carriers now. Creature will try to get this 4th base, which I do like. Now, we will see how Silky goes for it. I think he's going to go into Vipers, would be his next response, because it's a very tight window, where if he does not kill him with these Hydras, then eventually Creature's army is just going to become stronger. But he sees the carrier transition, and now we have a big attack. Banelings, Hydras, they're coming in, Tempo.
That they are. They're coming across the map right now. +2 is only just now starting. And the goal right here is to never let Creature get a 4th base. Keep him on 3 bases. It's almost like when you play against Mech as a Zerg player, where you never want them to get to the 4th rather. So it's one of those things where like Hydras are really good in the mid game, but when there's too many carriers I'm canning, I think you kind of laugh and chuckle and say,
it's like my sweet spot.
Cute.
Now,
that's cute.
I like what you said, because the longer that Creature can't get this 4th base, the worse it gets for him. And obviously that makes sense, but especially with this mass carrier army, you do need that 4th base. Silky, I like what he's doing, trying to keep him pinned on 3 bases. He's got a big army out here. He's still droning, going into infestors. I like his decisions here. Gonna try to snipe this 4th base, and there's only a handful of carriers out, but Creature getting a little caught off guard. Silky's Hydra's getting some frags, and now he's gonna lose this 4th base.
So what is like your biggest fear whenever you try to go for Sky Toss? Like as a Protoss player, like aside from getting, or rather not getting your 4th base, what unit comp, or is there anything that you like, oh man?
It's really just about seeing what exactly your opponent's doing and seeing the high. Now he's going to go for this. Diving in his Phoenix, not the best decision. Silky taking a nice trade again, whittling away this Phoenix count, and then it's just becoming pure Corruptor. When you're going Sky Toss, you're basically trying to see, okay, is he going Spire or is he going Hydras?
Okay.
And then you start to analyze. Now he's gone Hydras. Carriers are the right choice when he's going Hydras. You don't want to go Void Rays. Sniping this 4th base again, potentially the Phoenixes, carriers just not there in time. Not enough numbers. Silky diving in. Okay, he's taking the fight on the actual army right now. Lifts coming down. Carrier interceptors everywhere. Fungal coming down.
Wow. All right. Pretty even supply here. I would say bringing the queens is going to make it a lot more difficult here for Creature. However, the carriers are out of interceptors. The base is going to get canceled. And now Creature still on 3 bases. It kind of is an awkward position because I feel like Silky does not need to go up that ramp. He's just going to go back home and say, I denied you a 3rd, or rather a 4th base. I'm good. I'm cool. Look at the
That was actually very close to being almost okay for Creature. If he took a overwhelmingly strong fight there, which it almost looked like he had the numbers for it, to be honest, because if you can really whittle down that Hydra count, and they have 3 max and Hydras instead of a different composition, then it's strong. Now the upgrade's kicking in for Silky. He's on 2-1. They just kicked in. Now the area he is on +2. Creature is on +2 on his Sky Toss, but this 4th base has now been delayed so long. The Infestors are here, the Hydras are here, but it's becoming a pretty big carrier count tempo.
It is, and I think that is like one of the scariest things ever as a Zerg player. But I feel like the way that Silky's playing it, bringing down the queens, he's like, this is it. We even have Anion Pulse Crystals. I forgot to note that, but the Fungals are able to actually get those interceptors as well. And now here we have a Hydra. He even uses that ability that like nobody uses. Microbial Shroud, yes.
Yeah. Very nice move. I like it. It actually is pretty strong. I love the queens here as well. Very good buffer with the army. And this is just Silky's sweet spot. I love what he's doing. Love the Spore Crawlers going to be coming down eventually in the front as well. Just makes it so annoying for Creature. I mean, this is just a great contain. Silky taking all the bases on the map. I mean, really nice spot, really nice composition, and he's got a good spot. But again, it's a scary army, and if you take a bad fight,
it's over.
Snowball. It can snowball. So we'll see. But Silky's
and I've noticed that though,
right
against carriers especially, Microbial Shroud is actually really freaking good, right? Like,
for sure.
The way that carriers attack, they're very fast, you know. Oh, the Neural Parasite gonna go down on some of the carriers, so he's gonna use some of those interceptors on his own carriers here. But the Microbial Shroud, look at how much. Oh, how little damage the Hydras are actually taking. What?
The Spore count, the Interceptor count going down 20, almost 0 Interceptors left now. The Microbial Shroud, the Spores, the Neural Parasites, everything. And that was kind of a cool looking fight. Honestly, Microbial Shroud looks cool. Yeah. I don't care if it's even good or not. It looks cool.
It does look cool. But I think it's actually a really good ability, right? Like, it kind of is a meme at the end of the day. But if you think about it, the way that carriers work and like how armor upgrades work incredibly well against interceptors, Microbial Shroud is very similar in that same department there, where it's like, oh, well, the amount of damage I guess mitigated is pretty substantial.
A lot of Corruptors as well. It is interesting to see the way Silky went with this, because I think you can go Vipers as well. Of course, when the carrier count gets this high, it's always a little bit scary. I'll tell you right now, this is a painful game for Creature. You know, you can't get that 4th base. You're just kind of hating how things are going. You just want that 4th base. And he just said, I'm done with it. I'm going across the map. I see the Spores at the front. I see all the stuff you have. I'm going across the map, and I'm hoping to just kill all your bases and take a good fight.
I think it's also to get the attention away from his 4th, right? So moving across the map with the carriers means that if Silky reacts to this, he's going to be able to take the 4th base, right?
Yeah, and he is getting +3 while this hits, so the carriers are going to be as strong as they can be. Silky coming back to defend. If Silky cleans up this army, he will win the game. Now he is coming in. The Corruptors, the Hydras, targeting down these carriers. The Neural Parasites coming in. The Corruptors focusing it down. The carriers targeting, I think, the Corruptors, and Silky
they're trying. I don't think the Hydras are getting targeted down that much, but the Corruptors are starting to die. The carriers are holding strong, M. Canning. Holy moly, guacamole. Yo.
It's that snowball we're talking about, and there's a lot of carriers left. Now Creature is getting broke, but there are a lot of interceptors. There's no 4th base. A lot of Corruptors are the response from Silky. He is getting his +1 flyers. This is pretty scary for Silky, though. He's now down in supply, and Creature's at his base tempo.
Yep, and you mentioned this too, man. You were like, hey, if they ever get to that point where the carriers can snowball, it's summertime in Canning, but it is snowing in Silky's base right now, and it is not looking good for our Zerg player at all. Not even a little bit. Oh my god, is this real life? Wow, that's a lot of carriers, mate.
Yeah, Creature taking an amazing fight. Wasn't exactly sure. It looked like Silky might have enough, but now there's still Infestors. There's no Observers. Silky waiting with these Infestors. We get 1 Neural Parasite, 2, 3 Neural Parasite. Silky says, this is it. I'm going for it. The Corruptors on the high ground.
So many.
Targeting him down.
There's so many. I'm kidding. Chris.
Corruptors focusing him down one by one. The numbers dwindling for both sides. Both players are broke. This is our final fight. We still have 11 carriers left. It's coming down so close. The corruptor count, I don't think it's high enough, Tempo.
I don't know, man. I think all the corruptors are gonna die here, and the interceptors are just swarming the swarm itself. And it seems like Creature, out the cut, is gonna be able to overwhelm Silky. Wow! There's no way. There's no way that Silky can heal.
Right now we're looking at 11 carriers versus 11 Hydras and 2 corruptors and 1 infestor. This army can't be beaten. Now, Creature has literally basically 0 money. Now, that is the thing. The interceptor countdown is 73. He still has 500 minutes. He's got enough money, though. He doesn't have much money, but he's got enough money. These carriers should be able to finish this game. What an unbelievable turnaround from Creature, and he takes game 1, Tempo.
Wow. Crazy. What a game. What a freaking game.
Leaving me speechless a little bit because I felt like that was really good for Silky. I think maybe he could have used a few more spore crawlers. You know, maybe the decision to go for Infestor Microbial Shroud wasn't that strong. And we talked about it before. I mean, he had some Infestors. He had the Microbial Shroud. But was his army actually strong enough versus pure carrier? Because Hydras are great, but then they're not actually that great when the carrier count gets high enough.
Exactly. So, I feel like there's a point. Yeah. There's definitely a point where Hydras are amazing, like in the mid game. Right. But when the carrier count gets too high, there's just, I don't know, it's really difficult. I feel like there was a point in time where Creature was kind of in a weird spot that was vulnerable, and then all of a sudden, Silky was not able to break him, and then boom.
It looks very bad for Creature. He could not get that 4th base, and I mean, he just took a nice fight.
I gotta find this camera. I gotta find the scene so that we can see your beautiful face, man. You know what I'm saying? Right. I feel like we need to.
As long as they see you, though, you know that's.
They don't even see me right now because I'm not gonna show my face if I can't show yours. Like, why would I do that?
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. But the players are giving us no time. We're just jumping right into game 2 here.
Yeah.
Which I like. Now, you guys missed us for the first 6 minutes. So basically, what we were saying is we were talking about the players a little bit. Silky is a player that has been around. He's been in challenge. He's usually always makes DreamHack Masters, what it's called now, used to be WCS Challenger back in the day. He is a commonplace, whereas Creature, this is his very first time making it to DreamHack Masters. So very exciting, and he gets his very first win. We're looking to tie it up, Temple. We have in the top right the man who's not happy about that last game.
No.
He wants vengeance. It is Sidestorm Gaming's Silky.
And in the bottom left-hand corner, feeling amazingly well after that last game. With that crazy sky toss play on Eternal Empire, it is going to be the blue Protoss player from Sloth. It is Creature.
You know what's really cool about that last game is there were fights that were legitimately hard to call. I think it was hard to tell exactly who was going to win. And now we talked about it, that 4th base was denied and denied again. But the army, you know, it's just one of those things where it got out of control and they took an overwhelming fight. He took that overwhelming fight he needed. Pretty painful loss for Silky. We'll see if he can keep his keep composure, because that is a pretty annoying loss. You feel like you have control the entire game, and you just feel like you get 8-moved by a bunch of carriers, which kind of happens.
It happens, man.
I'm not going to lie. It kind of happened. Now, I will say we do see Creature going for the meta hatch block, so it's forcing Silky to take that 3rd base. And Zergs hate this, Tempo.
They do. That they do. I'm canning. You speak the truth. Yes.
So we'll see if Creature decides to go for maybe a Glaive Adept build, try to abuse that the 3rd base is going to be down here. Now, because when this happens, the big piece of this, why it's really common to see a Glaive build here, is because all the drones are going to be at this base. Like normally when you go for a Glaive build, all the drones are going to be at the natural, the 3rd base is not as exposed. But now the 3rd base is going to where all the drones are.
Exactly.
So Creature decides to abuse that. And
yep. Yeah. We'll see, because like I was talking about, like Creature, like I thought that he was more of a quote-unquote standard player. Like Silky is pretty much by the book, right? When you think of Silky, you think of like some kind of a macro player that's going to get to at least a 10+ minute mark, I would say.
Just a solid macro player for sure.
Very solid. But he has his, all-ins and builds that he has up his sleeve. But Creature, I always think of him as the same way, but just after last game, that was something that would really kind of throw me off guard, right? Where it's like, I expected this from him, but now all of a sudden, he just hit me with a 3 Stargate build. What's going to come next?
Yeah, and that's one of those games, if you're Silky, kind of plays with you for like a while, where you're like, well, I don't think I ever want to go Hydra Infestor versus that again. You know, because you're like, that didn't work, and I was in a good spot, and I still lost. Like, how did that work? So it might play with his mental a little bit, not even for this year's, but maybe even more games in DreamHack Masters.
Oh, this is big. This is big, I'm canning.
Yeah?
Yep, little tiny. I feel like usually you're able to get your Overlord in there, but the fact that he's able to get a Ling that doesn't even have speed, he sees everything, so he knows what he's going to be up against for the most part.
All right, he does have both Overlords. Now we do see the Twilight Council. This is very standard for the Glaive Adept build. Could be Dark Shrine. It really can be either build. Right now,
the Robo coming, I think it might be.
Right? You go Robo either way. Now we do see the Dark Shrine variant. So this is basically, right now, the most popular build in PvZ is opening Glaive Adept. 4-gate Glaive Adept with a Warp Prism is the most popular build. And with that is this build. It's very similar. You see the second Adept coming. This is exactly, like when Silky looks at this Overlord at the front of his base, and he sees the second Adept being produced, this looks like a normal Glaive Adept build. But it's against Dark Shrine.
Exactly. Now, and that's going to be the wrench.
All right. We'll see if Silky handles it, because if he doesn't make any spores, if he doesn't realize that it's not actually Dark Shrine, the Overlord in the bottom of his base will not get in and scout the Dark Shrine. Now he is diving with the North, and he should see the Dark Shrine with this Overlord.
He should, because there's no Stalker. And you know, oh, there it is. Never mind, I lied.
It was deflecting me back Overlord.
Yep. Oh, I think he's going to see it, I'm canning, and getting those, I would say, Spore Crawlers is going to be okay, but you still have to deal with it, right? Like, even if you know it's coming, DTs do some pretty decent damage here. Ask Fear Dragon.
It is a very nice scout for Silky, though, because then you know that it's not a bunch of Glaive Adepts you have to worry about. We see him already producing a bunch of drones because he knows he doesn't have to cut. Now, if it's the Glaive Adept build, you kind of cut, and you say, I got to handle these a bunch of Adepts. He knows it's DTs, but DTs, if they find some damage, you can lose drones fast. We see them all going into the natural right now. Creature going to look for some damage, but the Queens are already here. Nice reaction from Silky.
Yep, very nice. And Silky's a really good player when it comes down to defending against, like, shenanigans. Right. I would say that he's pretty, not invulnerable, but he's very well protected. At least his playstyle protects him pretty well.
I like this big queen. 16 drones coming out at one time from Silky. Love it. I mean,
that's
he knows
comfortable.
DTs. He knows that he's not in too much danger, but we see the Archons, but he's got so many queens. And he's got the Overlords on the north-hand side, so he will see these drops coming in. Now, the Queens, yeah, they're still in the vicinity. I mean, this looks pretty nice for Silky. He's got his drone count that he wants, and I see the Spire. I love the Spire move here. When you're going this Dark Shrine build, it can be hard to scout for a Spire because you don't have the Phoenixes, you don't have hallucinated sentries, or hallucinated Phoenix. You don't have any scouting. You just have this Warp Prism. And it gets pushed away. He almost loses it in the main.
That would have been big.
That would have been massive. The Ling's finding some probe damage. Nice harass. He's going to go for a surround here. Shield battery too far away. He gets the sentry. Very nice. And on top of the two Adepts, this is a nightmare for
oh my god. Creeds are going to lose all of those Adepts, and he's going to warp them in, and they do take that additional damage there, but he's trying to find his way towards that shield battery. And now, how do you feel as a Protoss player after your kind of DT harass didn't really work out? You ever thought it's cool, but how do you feel? How do you feel?
In this exact spot, I would feel very scared because, like, you actually, like, maybe you think maybe he cut drones, maybe he didn't scout the Dark Shrine, but he scouted everything. He didn't cut drones, and he didn't take any damage. Yeah, I would be feeling very concerned. And just like we said, there has been no scout on the Spire from Creature. He has no idea it's coming, and it's very hard to scout when you open this build. And he sees the Roach at the front. He's not going to be ready for this Muta transition. Now the Warp Prism is diving in, and a Prism and two Archons can actually handle Mutas for a fair bit. We'll see if Silky decides to commit to mass Muta, which would be very good here, but he is going back into Roach's tempo.
Okay, so I think the Mutas are there mainly to kind of get a little bit of a distraction, get some economic damage here, and maybe even get rid of the Warp Prism, right? But two Archons are pretty scary, so I'm wondering if he's going to keep it as a surprise, or do you think he's going to try to, like, nullify the Warp Prism, like, threat? Well, like we're going to find out now, aren't we?
The recall, but is it enough? The Mutas don't do enough damage, and it is home. That is huge, because 6 Mutas is actually not enough to snowball anything. You're going to look for some workers, but really the 6 Muta is a setup for these mass amount of Roaches. And actually, I'm starting to like Creature's spot. It's just mass Roaches. We have late upgrades from Silky. A lot of Roaches coming into the third, while the Muta's trying to find damage, but they don't. Roaches coming to third, but there's 2 Immortals. There's a bunch of force fields here. But Silky picking away all these Zealots. Nicely done.
But where's the ground army here for Silky, or rather for Creature? He has 2 Immortals, which is pretty scary. Okay.
Yeah, and he's got that Mega Battery. That Mega Battery.
I forget about the Mega Battery.
All right, now Silky did go up to 81 drones. He was at 67 for a while, so now he is droning. He's gonna go. He's getting Baneling speed. This is the follow-up tech. He did not go Mass Muta, which actually would have been very good here. But it's always scary because you don't exactly know the situation of the game. But 6 mutas, Creature doesn't even have to really worry about this too much.
No, and he's not overreacting either. He's getting blink, which is fine. But he's not like he's like dropping 3 Stargates and being like, oh, well, mutas, and then freaking out.
Yeah. Now this looks like Silky almost wants to go for a big pressure. No, just warping and Ravagers. The Muta is still looking for damage, but there's batteries, there's cannons. Gets 1, 2 workers. Nice focus fire there by Silky. And he sees the army. He knows the situation, looking for a sentry, but not going to get it with that battery there.
No.
And this is just your standard. This is like your textbook composition. We got Roach, Ravager, Baneling going up against Protoss. Now the upgrades are pretty late. Your money spot as Zerg, you want that +2 attack, because then you can start one-shotting workers. You can start finding more damage. These Evo chambers were very late. That's why I thought he was going to go Mass Mutas.
But yeah, it was very late because of the fact that he did go Muta, right? So it's very gas intensive. So, yeah, but I don't think that the Mutas did enough to justify the delaying of this the upgrades.
I think liked more of a reaction from Creature, but again, no 4th base from Creature. Silky pouncing on this 4th base again. I'm feeling deja vu from last game, and it's a big army from Silky. It's going to be hard for Creature to get out. He has no AoE in his army. He's got Archons, he's got Zealots. The army is a lot stronger from Silky right now, and he's going for a nice little surround with a lot of Banelings. He's going to go into the natural. He's going to go into the 3rd. Tempo looks pretty good for Silky.
It looks pretty good here. It's all going to be on these force fields. I don't believe there's that many, to be honest here. Going to go ahead and Corrosive Bow, most of them. That's a lot of Banes, but they're all in the back. And it's only +1.
It's a lot of Ravagers. Really nice defense in the natural as well. The Banelings, look at all those probes in the natural tempo. They're so low, but they all live in the natural base. Unbelievable. Now the Muta's trying to come in and finish off some of these probes in the natural, and they will find a few more probes. Nice moves from Silky, who's now up 20 workers. And his composition is a lot better than Creature's. The Muta's finding some damage. I agree. I don't think the mutas necessarily needed to be justified, because it's just a couple of mutas, put on a little bit of a threat.
He didn't invest that much into it. You're right, right?
Right, because his army is really the Roach Ravager Ling, and he's coming in for a big pressure on this 3rd base, and Creature's army is kind of pinned back. Looks like a nice engagement for Silky. There's no AoE here for Creature. The Baneling's killing all the workers.
Oh my god. 23 workers go down. That's crazy.
That was really nicely done by Silky. And that's really all he needed there. He didn't need to kill the army. He didn't need to kill the Nexus. And the Muta's diving back in, finding even more probes. Very nice moves. Now, he is on the Archons. Maybe he just wants to get rid of them. He says those Mutas, they've done enough.
They've done it. They've done their thing, right? And there's no use for them anymore. They're going to be pretty much just supply that you don't really want to have there. So, beautifully done there by Silky, because he was able to multi-prong attack there. And then now, what is he going to go for next?
Now, I am
Greater
concerned
Spire.
that he attacks too fast, because this is an all-in. He's killed so many workers. Creature has to kill Silky now, but there are just so many Banelings. And yes, there are Archons, but there are so many Banelings, Tempo, and they're rolling in.
So many Banelings, my friend. But that's not a lot of Ravagers, though. I'm not going to lie.
No, not a lot of army left. Actually, an okay-looking fight for Creature here. A lot of Archons, but a lot of this is low. The Archons are still pretty beefy, but the economy, time is on Silky's side. Creature has to end it soon. And these are a lot of Ravagers. Big biles.
Oh, those biles.
On the Archons.
Those biles were crazy. And now, I believe Silky feels pretty comfortable with a very hefty supply lead here. Baneling's going to come through. And even though Banes don't do extra damage to Archons, it's still extra damage at the end of the day. And it seems like Silky is going to take game number 2. G to the G, my friend.
Yeah, nice game. I mean, he handled it. It was just a combination of everything from the early game. Scouting, seeing the Dark Shrine, knowing it's not the Glaive Adept build, just droning hard because he knew he was fine, defending the Warp Prism and the Archons and the DTs with just his Queen, going heavy drones, going for an unscouted Spire, and actually he could have probably won the game with the Spire, but he said no. I want to flex my Roach Ravager.
I'm gonna flex him, and he did.
Just a solid game. Creature having a hard time. Actually, there was a small period of time I actually felt like Creature was in an okay spot. They had even drone count. There was not that many roaches. Or there was not that many mutas. And I thought it was actually almost okay. But then Silky, he droned up. He found nice engages at the 3rd. Started to find damage with the mutas. And took control of the game. Nicely played.
Very nicely played.
I will say it's 1-1. Now, for those viewers who don't know, it is a round-robin format. There are 2 groups. and everyone plays each other in the group. So even just getting a single win is massive. It's really massive just winning even single games, because they can come down and be very important later in the tournament. So,
okay. Oh, okay.
Yep. So,
Word.
So Creature getting that one map win as the underdog, already nice for him. Let's see if he can start off his tournament well. But in the top right, looking to solidify a nice big map, it is Psystorm Gaming's Silky.
And in the bottom left-hand corner, not able to deal with the mutas in the last game, it's going to be our blue Protoss player. It is Creature.
And now we'll see. Now this map, this is a big map, Tempo. I'm going to tell you right now. It is a map I personally I'm a little bit uncomfortable playing Zerg on. I'm a little bit uncomfortable.
Okay.
It just feels so big. There's the watchtowers. Sometimes, you know, and we've seen Silky do a great job at stopping fourth bases in the past. I think this map is going to be hard for Creature to get that fourth base. We'll see what he decides to end up going for. But, you know, standard starting off. And one game he went Stargate. One game he went Twilight. I think he's going to go back to some type of Sky Toss play.
I would say so, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think, like, what is Creature the most comfortable with? Because I know Silky for the most part. I would say that, you know, Hydra Bane is like his jam.
Yeah, a little Roachling Bane. It depends.
Roachling Bane.
Maybe mid-game type stuff. Of course, just solid, taking good fights. Silky's just a very solid player. I think, you know, Creature I actually know less about right now. I haven't seen as many of his games. I think he plays a little bit under the radar. You know, maybe ladders more than actually
Mr. Adam Block.
So, yeah, so maybe he's been in the hyperbolic time chamber just practicing his butt off. He's got something special apparent. I mean, I was very impressed that he was able to win that first game. That was a very bad spot, and like, yes, Silky took a bad fight, but it's still, you know, you have to take the right fight. You have to make the right decision to go across the map, and he made the right decision.
And when you do it, right? It's like if you go with like 4 carriers, and then it looks kind of bad, right? Where the Hydras kill it. But there was definitely a factor of being overwhelmed, and I don't think Silky was ready for that. And he was like, "Okay, well, that's kind of sucks." And then you can't recover.
Right. And I think some of the early fights that were pretty close, like we weren't sure, you know, there was some Phoenixes lifting things up, Phoenixes were dying, but you know, the Hydras were dying, kind of set up for the overwhelming carriers, because the Hydra count never really got to like an insane amount. And
no,
he was kind of on everything, and then
he went half and half, yeah, with the corruptors too.
Right. And then he had unupgraded corruptors because +1 didn't finish versus +3 carriers. I mean, it looks kind of bad, but in the same time, I feel like Silky wanted to go more ground. He was going really heavy ground upgrades. He had good Hydra upgrades, but then he decided to go for mass corruptor. So I'm not sure if Silky, you know, if he wasn't exactly sure what he wanted to do. So we do see the Stargate coming out to Adept, the very same opener from Creature as the first game. But this map is a lot bigger. And we see Phoenix. I mean, it looks like identical opener. I would like to see. I mean, I don't see a probe across the map, Tempo, but I would love to see like a Phoenix into like a mass Adept all-in. You know,
I would love that.
You make them think that it's going to be Sky Toss again, and then actually it's just shenanigans.
Because it's all about the mind games too. Yeah, I would feel that, because Silky is a player that will kind of deal with it in the mid game, and he kind of assumes what he sees. Right? He's like, oh, Stargate opener. You're doing what you're gonna do in what you did in game number 1. No, if Creature were to come out with like an Adept opener, it would have been completely out of left field.
Some small things I like from Silky in the early game, Tempo, I'll tell you, is we already see the Ling spread and on patrol very hard. I mean, he's got both watchtowers. Silky's got good map vision across the map, and he only did 1 overlord across the map this game, Tempo. He said, you know, I don't need 2 overlords across the map. I'm only doing 1. Small things, but a nice little decision there from Silky, and it's going to be just, you know, small. Not going to change the game, but it's nice. It's nice to have that extra overlord.
It's like the comfort zone where you're like, okay, I don't need to, you know, sacrifice anything else in order to actually get that information. He knows that it's going to be Stargate because he sees the Phoenix clearly, but what is the follow-up, right? And we were talking about that. Is it going to be another Stargate? Will it be 2 more, or is it a Robo? Like, we know because we're, you know, the casters, but if you're Silky, you don't know. Unless you obviously get your Overlord there, and I think he did see it, so. No, he did not.
Trying to find damage in the main, nicely deflected by Silky. Wasn't able to find anything. Creature was going to go for a Phoenix lift, and then while he lifts the Queen, tries to find some drones, but Silky was all over it. Now, we'll see exactly if Creature decides to go standard. You know, maybe Creature felt, and I even said last game, there was a point, I thought Silky was in a great spot, but then there was a point where they were on similar drones. It was not Mass Mute, it was Mass Roach. And I thought, you know what? I actually don't mind Creature's spot. So maybe Creature felt that as well, where he was like, you know what? I think if I can get into a similar spot as last game, you know, normal compositions, I like my spot.
I would say so too. I think the only thing that, like, in last game that made it kind of awkward was the fact that he opened up Robo, and obviously you can always go Muta as a Zerg player to punish it. So you don't have the tools, right? And you have to scramble. So he didn't scout it, I believe.
3 oracles here, though, now coming across the map. And still, I don't think he sees it with this Ling. He's going to probably try to lift up a queen and then dive a bunch of drones. Going right over the creep. It is seen. The queen's a little bit out of position
but
here,
is it too late? There's no Spore Crawler here, I'm canning.
Oh my. This could be huge damage. No Spore. He thought he could handle it with just the drones. 6 drones already going down. The queen's out of position. Finding a queen here as well. No, he will not. Now, there is a Spore in the main. He's just going to jive some of the drones. 8, 9. But he is losing 1 Oracle. Still nice damage there, though. Wow.
Good damage. Good damage. Good damage. As Roddy would say, good damage.
Now, look, their worker count pretty similar. Now, we do see heavy drones coming in from Silky. We now see the Spore there. I don't know if he made it late or if he just made it. But that was one of those moves that if I'm Silky, I'm a little bit upset. He's like, you're probably like, how do you go to the natural there? You know, that's my safest base. But maybe Creature thought that's the only spot there's not going to be a Spore, and there wasn't a Spore.
And there wasn't. Exactly.
There's 2 oracles. There's units out. This won't find much damage. He's just guarding the 4th base. You know, we see nothing but drones. This is not a real attack coming in from Silky.
No, I don't think so either. Right? The Baneling Nest is on the way. It might poke at the natural base, but the Immortal being there is going to be enough, I think, even. There's no shield battery, but that's a pretty scary sight. Like, Immortal. You see one Immortal, and you're like, oh my god, run away.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, M. Canning, I know you're a Protoss player, but, like, as a Zerg player, you see one Immortal, and you're just like,
look, lather me with that Zerg bias. I don't mind. I'll fight you all day, Tempo. I'll fight you all day. Give me that. But I'm with, you know, we're in a pretty even game now. It will be interesting to see if Creature goes for AoE this game, or if he just decides he's more of an Archon guy. Now,
I mean, I think we're going to see, Charge Lot Archon. We don't see Storm in the production tab, right? So
no Colossus, no Storm. He's got no area effect. He's just going for the Archon Sentry versus Hydra Bane. Maybe it can work. Maybe it can work if the Banelings don't find the money connections and the Charge Lots and the Archons get on top of the Hydras. I can believe.
I believe too. It depends, right? It's all about the timing of it. I feel like Charge Lot Archon with Psystorm, when you get it eventually, is so strong. But, man.
Now, Silky sees this 2 Oracle Prism coming to the north. The Hydra's coming to intercept it on the top side of the map. He is not going to get it.
Nope.
He did see it, though. But now the army posturing on the bottom half, but there's no Prism anywhere near.
He made one, though. I don't know where he put it.
It is. Now he's bringing it back to his army, and he's going to get a big weapon. But it's a lot of Zealots. How many Banelings do we have right now, Tempo? There are no Banelings now. Just 12 on the way. There's a lot of Charge Lots.
Is this the timing?
The big concave from Silky. Stasis traps going down. A big engagement. The Banelings come crashing in. A nice concave, but a lot of the Hydras falling. Oracle's coming in, fighting damage. There is Roaches, Queens buffering. It is very close, but the supply is telling the tale. Silky looks like he is starting to hold. Just Archons and a couple of Immortals left.
Even with the Warp in, I don't think it's enough. I feel like the defense is going to be really strong here for Silky with the Hydras coming out. Roaches are on the front line. They might go down, but I mean, wait a minute.
Charge Lots coming out. Big reinforcements. 12 Hydras, 14 Lings coming out. Once they come out, he should be able to deflect this attack. And this is more or less an all-in from Creature. He has no 4th base. He has no amazing follow-up. He was looking to kill him here. And
it's not going to work out.
That was a little bit dicey for Silky. I don't think he was completely ready for that. He should have had a few more Banelings. I don't think he thought Creature
He had 0 M Canning. Literally 0 Banes at all.
Right. The first time he saw it was when they were morphing across the map, and Creature almost did that timing he was looking for. And Creature banking a lot of money, so maybe he can rebuild a pretty big army fast. And he's going to try to do one more big push.
All right, well, here we go. Did the Warp Prism go down, or is it still alive?
It's still here going.
Okay, I see it there. All right.
Oh, but if it goes down, it's going to be pretty big.
No!
And
oh, my God.
Well, oh, it's such a nightmare. And Silky's done a great job seeing with her 4th base, and there is no 4th base. Silky has to be feeling amazing right now.
He has to.
He knows he's just in a commanding spot. We got +2 melee coming on for those Banelings. I mean, the 4th base is just so incredibly late for Creature here. He was trying to get it done. And now Silky says, look, I took a good fight. I'm coming across the map. I think I can find some damage here.
I think the best part about it is that he's sitting on 80 drones while he does it too, right? Like, this is usually a dicey point for a Zerg player, and you might be at like 60 to 70 something drones, you know, 66. But he got to that point, that sweet spot. Don't let me get 80 drones. Don't let me get 80 drones. And now here he is at 81, or rather 80. But
there's just too many Hydras for Creature to really handle. He's gonna go at the Warp Prism again. There's just so many Hydras. There's just so much Zerg here. Well played is called, and Silky, Sizestorm game.